$25 billion. That was the initial commitment made by Mark Carney on the morning of April 27, 2026, at the Canadian Science and Technology Museum in Ottawa. The launch of Canada's first ever national sovereign wealth fund, the Canada Strong Fund, had begun. This independent, professionally managed Crown corporation is designed to invest alongside the private sector in areas like clean and conventional energy, critical minerals, agriculture, infrastructure, and transport. For the first time, individual Canadian citizens will have the opportunity to buy into the fund directly, similar to purchasing a government bond. This move not only allows everyday Canadians to see returns on projects building the nation's future over the next 4 decades, but it also marks a bold shift in Canada's approach to economic growth. The $25 billion commitment was just the beginning. The fund has explicit pathways for growth through asset recycling, reinvestment of returns, and what Carney described as unlocking the full value of federal assets. Essentially, Canada's existing federal crown infrastructure, land, and reserves are being put forward as future sources of capital for this permanent national investment vehicle. The structure, mandate, and intent of this fund resemble those of global heavyweights like Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, Norway's Government Pension Fund Global, the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, and the Qatar Investment Authority. This is not just a wealth fund. It is a strategic sovereign wealth machine designed to protect Canada's economic future. This comes at a time when Donald Trump's administration has relentlessly criticized Canada, and it underscores a shift in Canada's approach. This is not just a response to tariffs or a trade dispute. It is part of a grander strategy. The fund signifies a deeper commitment to securing Canada's economic independence on its own terms, without the pressure of foreign political leverage. The timing of the Canada Strong Fund's launch was no coincidence. It was a deliberate strategic move. Mark Carney's actions in the days leading up to the announcement painted a clear picture of Canada's evolving stance on the global stage. On Sunday, April 26th, Carney gave an exclusive interview to CBC's Adrian Arsenault, where he laid out his thoughts on the ongoing trade dispute with the United States. In this interview, Carney remarked, "Trump certainly respects strength, and lots of people like to be flattered, but he can see through obsequiousness." This statement was not just a comment on diplomacy. It was a warning to the United States. Carney made it explicitly clear that Canada was not chasing a small deal to secure tariff relief. Canada would not be flattered or weakened by concessions. Instead, Carney positioned Canada as a country willing to stand firm, not only in its negotiations, but in its long-term economic planning. The very next morning, Canada unveiled the $25 billion Canada Strong Fund, signaling that Canada was no longer merely reacting to external pressures, but had taken control of its economic future. This move was not a one-off announcement, but a coordinated plan. On Tuesday, April 28th, just 24 hours after the fund's introduction, Canadian Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne presented the Federal Spring Economic Update in the House of Commons, codifying the new direction for the Canadian economy. This sequence, Sunday night's public posture of strength, Monday's announcement, and Tuesday's formal fiscal update, demonstrated the government's commitment to structural independence. It was not an improvisation, but a carefully crafted strategy to solidify Canada's autonomy in the face of growing political pressures from the United States. The Canada Strong Fund isn't just about investing in sectors. It's about reshaping Canada's economic landscape, reducing dependency on American markets, and strengthening Canada's global position. The sectors chosen for investment reflect Canada's long-term strategic goals and include areas where the country has global advantages. These sectors include energy, both clean and conventional, critical minerals, infrastructure, agriculture, and data sovereignty. The fund is designed to finance projects that will reduce Canada's reliance on American customers and markets. One key example is its focus on energy infrastructure projects, such as pipelines that bypass American customers. The fund will also support nuclear infrastructure expansion, including the kind of reactor capacity that helped Canada become North America's primary supplier of medical isotopes through the Darlington licensing decision in May 2025. Additionally, the fund will invest in liquefied natural gas export terminals, including the expansion of the Port of Churchill, announced just days before the fund's introduction. These investments are part of a broader plan to make Canada's energy sector more independent by opening up new markets for Canadian oil, gas, and LNG exports. Critical minerals also take center stage in the fund's strategy. Canada controls or has access to significant global reserves of cobalt, nickel, and rare earths, minerals crucial for electric vehicle batteries, semiconductors, and military electronics. The Canada Strong Fund is now positioned to fund the extraction, processing, and refining of these minerals while prioritizing supply chains that don't rely on American refineries or ports. The strategic shift also includes investments in high-speed rail infrastructure. The fund is earmarked to help finance a proposed rail line connecting major Canadian cities like Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and potentially Quebec City. This project would not only ease congestion on domestic flights, but also reduce Canada's reliance on American hubs, redirecting revenue away from American airlines and customs. These strategic investments are the first steps toward a future where Canada's economic independence is no longer a matter of political debate. It will be a matter of institutionalized capital. The Canada Strong Fund is not just an economic tool, it's a symbol of a shift in how Canada views its place in the global economy. The fund is designed to be a long-term, sustainable solution to Canada's economic positioning. It is a permanent commitment to making strategic decisions that will safeguard the country from external pressures, particularly those imposed by the United States. The fund's investments are directly aligned with Canada's broader trade and economic strategies, which have been quietly reshaping the nation's future over the past 14 months. These investments extend far beyond energy and infrastructure. They include sectors like agriculture, where the fund will support dairy supply management and agricultural processing industries. This will help ensure that Canada's agricultural outputs, including canola, pork, seafood, and lobster, are destined for non-American markets. Canada's investment in data sovereignty is another crucial area. The fund will support the construction of data centers that operate outside the jurisdiction of American cloud laws, ensuring that Canadian data remains protected and independent from foreign influence. The fund will also back quantum computing facilities, such as those at the University of Sherbrooke and the University of Waterloo, which will directly compete with American AI infrastructure. The Canada Strong Fund is, therefore, not just an economic response to tariffs or trade disputes. It is an embodiment of a vision to reshape Canada's future, making it a more independent, self-sufficient nation. The fund's strategic allocations into energy, minerals, agriculture, and digital infrastructure are meant to build a robust and resilient economy that isn't vulnerable to foreign market fluctuations or political pressure. As these projects begin to take shape, the Canada Strong Fund will continue to grow, bringing Canadian investors into the fold and making a lasting impact on the nation's economic future. This is the long-term game, and Canada is committed to seeing it through, regardless of what happens in the ongoing trade dispute with the United States.